took home the saddest dog at the shelter. What happened next stunned everyone. The fluorescent lights of the animal shelter buzzed overhead, casting a pale glow on rows and rows of cages. The scent of disinfectant barely masked the deeper smell of fear and loneliness that hung heavy in the air. Anna tightened her jacket around her as she walked down the main aisle. Barking erupted around her, high-pitched yips, deep-throated howls, desperate paws scratching at metal bars. Every dog she passed seemed to plead, "Pick me, pick me." A golden retriever bounced excitedly against his gate, tail wagging so hard it smacked the metal with a steady thud. A pair of puppies tumbled over each other, pink tongues lolling, oblivious to the sadness around them. An elderly beagle sat solemnly, ears drooping, gaze tired but hopeful. Anna stopped, kneeling at each cage, offering soft words and gentle smiles. But something gnawed at her heart. None of these dogs were the one. She had made a promise to herself before she ever set foot inside. She wouldn't leave today with the cutest dog, or the friendliest, or the easiest. She would find the one everyone else had given up on. "Miss, can I help you?" A shelter worker, a kind-faced woman named Carol, approached with a clipboard in hand. "I'm just looking," Anna said quietly. "Actually, I'm looking for the dog that's been here the longest." Carol's smile faded into something heavier, sadder. "Are you sure?" she asked. "There's one, but he's complicated. That's the one I want to see," Anna replied without hesitation. Carol nodded slowly and motioned her follow. They weaved through the kennels until they reached a far, shadowed corner of the shelter where fewer people ventured. There, barely visible in the dim light, was a small enclosure. Inside it, curled into himself like a broken thing, was Charlie. He wasn't barking. He wasn't wagging. He wasn't even looking. His head rested flat against the concrete floor, his ribs faintly visible under his patchy coat. His ears drooped so low they touched the ground, and his dull brown eyes stared into nothing. Anna felt her breath catch. He looked defeated. "This is Charlie," Carol said softly. "He came in almost a year ago. Abuse case. We think he was abandoned after years of neglect. He's not aggressive, just shut down. We don't put him on the front rows anymore. People don't really notice him." Anna knelt quietly, pressing her fingers gently through the chain-link fencing. "Hey, buddy," she whispered. "I see you." For a long moment, Charlie didn't move. Then, barely, his ear twitched. It was all Anna needed. In that instant, she knew Charlie wasn't a lost cause. He was alive, still waiting for a reason to hope again. Standing up, she turned to Carol and said firmly, "I'd like to take him home." Carol blinked, stunned. "Are you sure?" "It won't be easy." Anna smiled, her voice steady. "I'm sure." As she filled out the paperwork, she glanced back at Charlie, who still hadn't lifted his head. Most people would have seen a broken dog. But Anna? She saw a future, one built not on what Charlie had been through, but on what he still could become. And somewhere deep inside, though no one could hear it yet, the very first note of a new song began to stir in Charlie's heart. The adoption office was a small room with peeling posters of smiling families and happy dogs taped to the walls. Anna sat across from Carol, pen poised above a thick stack of paperwork. "He's going to need a lot of patience," Carol warned gently, sliding a final form across the desk. "He's not like the others. Sometimes we wonder if he even knows how to be a dog anymore." Anna's pen didn't waver. She signed her name with a firm stroke. "I'm not expecting a quick fix," she said. "He doesn't have to be anything but himself." As Carol slipped the papers into a file, she paused. Most people want a dog who will love them right away. Someone who runs up wagging their tail the minute they walk in. "You're different." Anna smiled softly, feeling the gravity of the moment settle in her chest. "I'm not here for what I can get. I'm here for what I can give." With that, Carol led her back to Charlie's enclosure. Another worker had already attached a worn leather leash to his collar. Charlie didn't resist. He didn't pull. He simply stood there, thin and motionless, as if the world had no more surprises for him, good or bad. Anna knelt beside him, her voice barely a whisper. "You don't know it yet," she said, brushing her fingers along his battered fur, "but we're going to figure this out together. As they walked toward the shelter exit, Charlie moved with slow, mechanical steps, each one hesitant, uncertain. He didn't look back at the place he was leaving behind. Outside, the late afternoon sun painted the sky in warm golds and pinks. A soft breeze stirred the leaves. It was a beautiful world waiting just beyond the shelter doors, and today, Charlie was stepping back into it. Anna opened the passenger door of her car and spread a blanket across the seat. She waited. Carefully, almost fearfully, Charlie clambered in and curled up, pressing himself into the corner as if trying to disappear. His body shook, not from cold, but from the overwhelming fear of the unknown. Anna slid behind the wheel and glanced at him. "We're okay," she said, her voice steady and warm. "You're safe now." As she pulled away from the shelter, the road unspooling ahead of them like a promise, Anna whispered a silent vow into the growing twilight. "No matter how long it takes, no matter how hard it gets, I won't give up on you." And somewhere deep inside the broken places of his heart, Charlie heard it. Not with his ears, but with something far older and more fragile. Hope. The ride home was silent. Anna drove carefully, glancing at Charlie every few minutes. He remained curled tightly in the passenger seat, his eyes darting around with every unfamiliar sound. The whoosh of passing cars, the clatter of gravel under the tires, the sharp bark of a dog from a nearby yard. When they pulled into Anna's driveway, Charlie didn't move. Not even when she opened the door. Not even when she called his name softly. It took 10 long minutes of patient coaxing before he finally stepped out, each paw landing like it weighed 100 pounds. Anna didn't rush him. She simply sat down cross-legged on the grass and waited. The house was quiet when they entered. Anna had prepared it carefully, hiding anything that might startle him, setting up a cozy bed in the living room, scattering soft blankets and a few gentle toys around. She left the back door open to a fenced yard, hoping the open air might give him some comfort. Charlie crept along the walls like a shadow, avoiding the open spaces, keeping his body low. His tail stayed tucked tight against his belly. His ribs quivered with every breath. He didn't bark. He didn't whine. He simply existed. That night, Anna cooked a simple dinner. Chicken and rice, something the shelter had said might tempt him. She placed the bowl gently near him, then retreated to the couch, giving him space. He stared at it. Hours passed. The food went cold. Anna sat there, pretending to read, glancing at him only from the corner of her eye. She didn't push. She didn't beg.
When she finally rose to head upstairs for bed, Charlie was still there, frozen by the front door, staring at nothing, a ghost trapped between two worlds. Before going up, Anna placed a second blanket near him, just in case he needed comfort he wasn't ready to ask for yet. "Good night, Charlie," she said into the dim room. "I'll be here tomorrow." She climbed into bed alone. In the silence, she thought about how easy it would be to doubt herself, how easy it would be to wonder if she had made a mistake. But she didn't. Healing wasn't a straight line. It was messy, painful, slow, and Anna had signed up for the whole journey, not just the pretty parts. Downstairs, Charlie lay awake in the dark, breathing shallowly, listening to the sounds of a house he didn't yet trust. No one yelled. No one threw anything. No one dragged him outside into the cold. It was confusing. It was terrifying. It was new. As the clock ticked past midnight, Charlie shifted slightly on the hard floor, his paws brushing against the edge of the blanket Anna had left behind. It was warm. It smelled faintly of her, lavender, and safety. For the first time in what might have been years, Charlie allowed himself a small thing. He closed his eyes and slept. The days that followed blurred into a quiet, careful rhythm. Anna spoke little, letting her actions build a bridge where words might only scare him away. Every morning, she set out fresh food and water. Every evening, she sat on the floor a few feet from Charlie, reading books aloud in a soft, steady voice. She chose simple stories at first, gentle tales filled with warm kitchens, green fields, and happy endings. Not because she thought Charlie understood the words, but because she hoped he could feel the kindness tucked inside them. Charlie kept his distance, always choosing to lie against a wall or under the dining table, his body half hidden in the shadows. He didn't respond to her voice, her food, or her outstretched hand. But Anna didn't give up. She didn't force him. She simply stayed. She became part of the background, as safe and consistent as the ticking clock on the mantel. And slowly, so slowly that at first she barely noticed, something shifted. It was in the way Charlie's ears would tilt slightly when she entered the room, in the way he no longer flinched when she set a bowl down beside him, in the way his breathing, once shallow and panicked, deepened when she read late into the night. It wasn't trust yet. It wasn't love. It was possibility. One rainy evening, with the wind rattling the windows and the fireplace casting a soft glow across the living room, Anna sat curled up on the floor with a book in her lap. She wasn't reading this time, just sitting, just being there, breathing the same air as him. Thunder rumbled outside, deep and distant. She turned a page slowly, almost absently, when she felt it. A presence close, a warmth near her side. She froze, heart pounding. She lowered the book and turned her head ever so slightly. Charlie was there. He had crossed the invisible barrier between them, not with fanfare, not with wagging excitement, but with trembling, careful steps. His nose pressed lightly against her hand, almost as if testing whether she was real, whether kindness could be trusted. Anna didn't move, didn't speak. She simply let him come. Charlie gave a cautious sniff, then, in a gesture so tentative it nearly broke her heart, nudged his head under her hand. Tears sprang to Anna's eyes. Gently, reverently, she rested her palm atop his head, feeling the wiry fur beneath her fingertips, the fragile life she was cradling. For a long, trembling moment, they stayed like that, two wounded souls finding a fragile peace in the flickering firelight. Then, like the smallest flicker of dawn in a long, dark night, Charlie's tail gave a shy, tentative wag. Not much, just a twitch, but it was enough. It was everything. It was the first spark. The night of the spark changed everything, quietly, invisibly at first, like seeds stirring deep under winter soil. The next morning, when Anna came down the stairs, Charlie was already awake, not hiding under the table, not flattened against the wall, but sitting, upright, alert, watching the doorway with cautious curiosity. Anna smiled, heart swelling, but said nothing. She moved around the kitchen with easy, deliberate slowness, humming under her breath. When she set his food bowl down, Charlie didn't bolt. He didn't slink away. He stayed. It took half an hour, but eventually, glancing up at her as if asking permission, he approached the bowl and ate. Not all of it, but enough. Anna fought the urge to cheer or rush to praise him. Instead, she simply said, "Good boy, Charlie," as if it were the most natural thing in the world. Tiny victories. Later that day, while she sat folding laundry on the couch, Charlie wandered closer than usual. He sniffed a sock. He blinked at a fluttering curtain. He startled himself, sneezing at a dust bunny, then looked around sheepishly, as if wondering whether he was allowed to make noise here. Anna laughed, a small, bright sound, and Charlie's ears perked up. It was the first time he had heard laughter tied to something harmless, something good. Each day built on the one before. Small steps, shaky moments of bravery. One afternoon, while Anna worked in the garden, Charlie stood hesitantly on the porch. The grass waved at him in the breeze like an invitation he wasn't sure he was ready to accept. Anna crouched at the edge of the yard, clapping her hands softly, not calling, just welcoming. Charlie hesitated, sniffed the air, and then, one paw, then another, he stepped into the grass. It was almost comical how shocked he looked, as if the ground might swallow him whole. But when nothing bad happened, Charlie wandered further, his nose twitching, his tail lifted, not high, not yet, but off the ground, like a flag of surrender to hope. Anna wiped her eyes before he could see. Later that night, when she sat on the couch wrapped in a blanket, Charlie climbed up beside her. He didn't curl in her lap or press against her side. He simply sat there, close, willing, and that was enough. Anna understood now. Healing wasn't measured in leaps and bounds. It was measured in inches, in quiet, brave inches, and every inch Charlie gave her was a miracle. Weeks rolled by, each one gentler, brighter than the last.
Charlie was still cautious. Certain sounds made him flinch, and sudden movements would send him scurrying to his favorite hiding spot behind the couch. But a new light had begun to flicker in his eyes, soft but undeniable. He was discovering the world again, and Anna was discovering him. One sunny Saturday, Anna decided it was time for something new, a trip to the nearby meadow at the edge of town. It was a wide, open space, dotted with wildflowers and stitched together by winding trails. A place with no walls, no cages, just sky and grass and freedom. She attached a long training leash to Charlie's collar and loaded him gently into the car. He still trembled at first, but now there was a layer of trust beneath the fear. When they arrived, Anna didn't rush him. She let him sniff the air, feel the soft earth beneath his paws, listen to the whispering wind through the tall grass. Charlie's nose twitched, his body vibrating with invisible energy he didn't seem to understand. He looked at her, unsure. Anna smiled and whispered, "Go on, Charlie. It's yours." And then, like a dam breaking, like a bird realizing it could fly, Charlie ran. It was clumsy at first, all long legs and startled expressions, but within seconds a wild, pure joy exploded out of him. He darted through the grass, tail flying, ears flapping ridiculously, the leash trailing behind him like a forgotten worry. Anna laughed out loud, spinning in a slow circle to watch him weave and sprint and leap at nothing at all. It wasn't just running. It was freedom. It was life. Hidden inside the sad, silent dog was an athlete. Fast, agile, almost breathtaking to watch. When Charlie finally slowed down, panting hard, he came bounding back to Anna, tongue lolling, eyes sparkling with something she hadn't dared to hope for so soon. Happiness. Without thinking, Charlie threw himself down at her feet, wriggling on his back, paws waving in the air, a clumsy, hilarious invitation to play. Anna dropped to her knees in the grass and rubbed his belly, laughing and crying all at once. Charlie thumped his tail furiously against the earth, no longer hiding, no longer shrinking. For the first time, he wasn't surviving. He was living. It was in that moment that Anna realized something powerful. Charlie wasn't broken. He never had been. He had simply been waiting for someone to see him, believe in him, and given the chance to remember who he really was. And now, here in the heart of the open meadow, under the endless blue sky, Charlie was waking up to himself. Of course, by winter, Charlie was unrecognizable, not just in his body, now strong and sleek with muscle, but in his spirit. The dog who once cowered in corners now trotted confidently at Anna's side, tail wagging like a banner. The hollowness that once haunted his eyes had been replaced with something fierce and bright, the unmistakable light of a soul that had chosen to live again. But it wasn't just daily life that had changed. Anna had entered Charlie into a local rescue dog celebration day, a community event honoring dogs who had overcome incredible odds. It wasn't a competition, just a gathering. Still, when she sent in his story, the organizers were so moved they insisted Charlie walk in the final showcase, a parade of survivors. At first, Anna hesitated. Would the noise scare him? Would the crowd undo all their quiet progress? But something in Charlie's steady, trusting gaze told her, "We're ready." On the day of the event, the fairgrounds buzzed with excitement. Kids with cotton candy, music floating on the cold breeze, banners flapping overhead. Other dogs, wagging and barking, danced around their owners. Charlie stayed close to Anna's side, his leash loose between them, his steps careful but certain. When their turn came, Anna knelt beside him at the edge of the parade path. "You don't have to be perfect," she whispered, smoothing her hand over his silky ears. "Just be you." And together, they stepped forward. The crowd clapped politely at first, until they saw Charlie. The scars along his legs, now half hidden under new fur. The healed but crooked ear. The deep, gentle calm in his eyes. Applause swelled like a rising tide. People stood. Children pointed, their faces lit with wonder. Charlie lifted his head higher. His tail wagged steadily, and Anna, walking beside him, could barely see through the tears that blurred her vision. Every step he took was a triumph over fear, over pain, over the voices in his past that had once told him he was worthless. Now, the world was telling a new story, a story of strength, of survival, of hope. As they reached the end of the path, a woman from the shelter, Carol, who had been there the day Anna took Charlie home, rushed forward, tears streaming freely. "He's magnificent," she whispered, dropping to her knees to stroke his neck. "Almost gave up hope. But look at him." Charlie sniffed her hand politely, then turned back to Anna, waiting, always waiting for her cue. Anna laughed through her tears and knelt too, wrapping her arms around Charlie in a fierce, proud hug. "You did it, buddy," she whispered against his fur. "You won. You really won." It wasn't about ribbons or trophies. It wasn't about parades or applause. The real victory was quieter, deeper. Charlie had learned to trust again. He had learned to love again. And maybe even more miraculously, he had learned that he deserved to be loved exactly as he was. As the sun dipped low and the sky blazed with the colors of a fading winter afternoon, Charlie sat tall beside Anna, a living testament to a simple, unstoppable truth. Sometimes the bravest thing a soul can do is to say yes. Yes to second chances, yes to messy healing, yes to life. And Charlie had said yes, every beautiful step of the way. Charlie's victory didn't end the moment they left the parade. It was just the beginning of something that would echo far beyond the confines of their small home. The very next day, Anna received a message from Carol at the shelter. She had been in touch with several other adoption centers, and Charlie's story had spread. Everyone wanted to hear about the dog who had been given a second chance, who had been so utterly broken and then, slowly but surely, pieced together again by the simple power of love. The first interview came a week later, followed by a short feature in a local magazine. Then, a social media post went viral, not for the success of the parade, but for the truth that had shown through the years of suffering and silence. Anna and Charlie became a symbol of perseverance, of second chances, of hope that was earned through patience and trust. Their story resonated with people from all walks of life, the lonely, the heartbroken, the ones who had been left behind. Anna received letters and messages from strangers, many of whom had found their own lost pieces in her and Charlie's journey. "Your story gave me the courage to adopt," one woman wrote. "I had been looking at shelters for months, afraid I wouldn't find the right dog. But I realized, after reading about Charlie, that I wasn't looking for the perfect dog. I was looking for my dog, and I found him." Each letter was like a ripple in water, spreading far and wide. Every single one spoke of new beginnings, of dogs finding homes, of people finding a path to healing, of families being stitched together with threads of understanding and patience. But the ripple didn't stop there.
The local shelter, inspired by Anna's unwavering belief in Charlie, began hosting second-chance adoption events every month. They encouraged families to come and see the dogs who might have been overlooked, the ones with scars and histories, because those dogs had something special to offer. Not just love, but a story that deserved to be told. Anna, now deeply involved in the cause, began volunteering at the shelter, speaking to new potential adopters, encouraging them to see the worth in every animal, no matter how much time they needed to heal. And once a month, she'd bring Charlie along. He had become a mascot of sorts, the living proof that broken things could be made beautiful again. One Saturday afternoon, while volunteering, Anna sat in a small office, talking with a young couple who had been hesitant about adopting a dog with a history of trauma. Charlie, lying comfortably at Anna's feet, allowed a soft sigh. Anna smiled at the couple. "Look at him," she said, as Charlie lifted his head with a tired but affectionate gaze. "He's not perfect. He's got his scars, and he's got his quirks. But he's the best thing that's ever happened to me." The couple looked at Charlie, his head resting gently in Anna's lap, his body relaxed, trusting, a living example of resilience. And the fear that had clouded their eyes softened. "We're ready," the woman said, smiling at her partner. "We'll take a chance on a second chance." Anna's heart swelled. "Good choice," she whispered, watching as Charlie nudged her hand with his nose, as though acknowledging their shared moment of hope. Charlie had become the bridge between the world that was and the world that could be. A world where love wasn't limited by perfection, where healing wasn't rushed or forced, and where every life had a chance to start again. The ripple continued. People began adopting not just because they wanted a pet, but because they were inspired to heal, to change the world by changing their own hearts, to show up for the broken and lost, and show them that they too were worthy. It was a world changing one step at a time, one adoption at a time. And Anna, sitting there with Charlie by her side, knew the truth. Some victories are larger than just one life. Some victories touch many, casting light on paths that had once seemed impossible to walk. Together, Anna and Charlie had started a movement, not just of rescuing animals, but of reminding the world that the most beautiful things are often the ones that take the longest to bloom. And in the quiet moments, at home in the stillness of the night, when Charlie rested by her feet, Anna would often reflect on how their lives had crossed paths in the first place. A stray dog, a broken heart, and the simple choice to love. That, she knew, had been their true victory all along. The calendar turned, and with each passing season, life for Anna and Charlie became something entirely new, something profound and beautifully unrecognizable from where they had started. What had begun as a journey of healing for Charlie had grown into a journey of healing for Anna too. The more she gave to him, the more she received in return. The bond between them had deepened in ways she hadn't fully understood until that very moment. The moment when she realized that saving Charlie had, in a way, saved her too. Anna had always been a strong woman, determined and independent. But she carried shadows from her past, losses, regrets, fears that never quite let go. Charlie's transformation had made her brave, but more than that, it had softened her edges in a way that was healing not just for him, but for herself. One cold evening, as the first snowflakes of the season began to fall, Anna sat by the window with a cup of tea, watching Charlie chase the wind outside. His joy was contagious, his movements carefree as he raced across the snow-covered yard, his paws kicking up small clouds of white. But it was when he stopped to look back at her, his eyes catching hers across the distance, that she felt it, the incredible truth of what had happened over the past year. 2 lives had been saved. Charlie had been given a second chance. Yes, a chance to show the world his worth, to reveal his heart, to trust again. But in the process, Anna had rediscovered a part of herself she had lost, the part that believed in second chances, in the beauty of a fresh start, and in the power of unconditional love. Her phone buzzed with a text message from Carol at the shelter. Anna had agreed to help with an adoption event that weekend, and she smiled as she read the message. "We've got another one, Anna. Just like Charlie. Will you help us find him a home?" Charlie, hearing the soft sound of her voice, padded over to her side and nudged her hand, sensing the conversation before she could even speak it aloud. "You're right, buddy," she whispered, pressing her palm against his warm fur. "We can't stop now." Anna had known all along that this journey wasn't just about Charlie. It was about what could be done when 2 souls found each other, when love took root, and when a commitment was made to not only rescue the broken, but to make the world a better place for everyone. And so, together, they continued to change lives. The adoption event that weekend was bigger than any before. More people showed up. More dogs found homes. And Charlie, with his newfound energy and calm wisdom, became the unofficial mascot of the entire event. His story was told over and over again, and each time, the crowd grew more and more moved by the incredible transformation. But Anna knew that even though Charlie had already won, there was more to be done. More lives to touch, more hearts to open. Every time someone adopted a dog, they saved 2 lives, the life of the animal and the life of the person who gave them a home. The event was a success beyond their wildest expectations. When the last family left, Charlie trotted proudly alongside Anna, his tail high and his eyes shining with pride. He had a new friend, a younger dog, just like he'd been, who needed patience, who needed care, who needed to believe that the world could be kind. Charlie had come full circle. He was no longer the lost, terrified animal he once was. He had become the very thing he had once needed, a guide, a beacon of hope, and a symbol of the incredible power of second chances. Later that evening, as Anna sat with Charlie, her heart full, she looked at him and realized the truth of their journey. They hadn't just saved each other. They had saved something far more profound. The belief that it's never too late to start again, that love has no conditions, and that every act of kindness, no matter how small, ripples out into the world. In that moment, as Charlie curled up by her feet, Anna whispered, "2 lives saved, and the world is better for it." Charlie sighed softly in contentment, his eyes half closed, as if he understood. They had found each other, and in doing so, they had found the meaning of home. Together, they had discovered that saving a life isn't just about rescuing an animal from the shadows. Sometimes, it's about pulling yourself out of the darkness as well, and finding light in places you never expected.
Charlie had saved Anna, and Anna had saved Charlie. And, in the end, they had saved each other. Years passed, but some things, the most important things, stayed the same. The world had changed around Anna and Charlie. Life had moved on, new challenges had arisen, and the days had sometimes felt long and difficult. But no matter what came their way, no matter how much time passed, there was one constant, the deep, unbreakable bond between them. Charlie had grown older, his muzzle now flecked with gray, and his once quick steps had slowed down. Yet his eyes still held the same spark, the quiet, determined light that had first drawn Anna in. He had aged gracefully, as if he knew the value of every single day, every moment of peace. And Anna, though her hair had begun to show traces of silver and her shoulders carried the weight of years, had never felt stronger. She had become a voice for the voiceless, an advocate for the forgotten dogs, and a constant presence in the shelter's efforts to find second chances for animals just like Charlie. On a crisp autumn morning, the two of them walked through the same meadow where Charlie had run for the first time, his body still awkward, his heart still uncertain. They had walked this path countless times, but today felt different. Today, it felt like a celebration. As the golden sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky with hues of orange and pink, Anna sat down on the grass and patted the spot beside her. Charlie, though slower now, lowered himself carefully by her side, resting his head on her lap. They were both at peace. Charlie had always been her protector, the one who had given her so much. But now, in these quieter moments, Anna realized how much he had needed her. Not just for the basics of care, but for the love, the safety, the assurance that he was worthy. Together, they had created something more powerful than just an ordinary life. They had created a life of meaning. "I used to think," Anna whispered to him, her fingers gently brushing through his fur, "that I was here to save you, that I was the one who could make everything better. But now I see. You saved me. You saved me, Charlie. You gave me a second chance to." Charlie lifted his head slightly, his tired eyes meeting hers, a soft, trusting gaze that told her more than words ever could. From the corner of her eye, Anna noticed a familiar figure approaching. Carol, the shelter director, now an old friend. Carol waved, smiling warmly as she walked toward them. It had been years, but she had stayed involved with the shelter, and now she had a question for Anna. "You know, we're looking for someone to take over the adoption events," Carol said, sitting down next to her. "I was hoping you might want to take on a bigger role. You've changed so many lives, you've given so many dogs a chance. It's time for someone like you to step up. What do you think?" Anna's heart skipped. This was the moment she had been waiting for. The moment to take everything she had learned and put it into something that would create even more ripples. Her gaze shifted down to Charlie, who was now resting peacefully beside her, the love of her life, the reason for it all. "I think it's time," she said softly, smiling through the happy tears that had begun to form. "It's time to give back all that we've received." Charlie gave a low, contented sigh, his eyes closing once more as if in approval. He had been her guide, her partner, and now he was ready to rest, knowing his purpose had been fulfilled. Anna stood, offering her hand to Carol. "Let's do it, for the ones who still need saving, for the ones who are waiting for a second chance, just like Charlie." Together, they walked toward the shelter, toward the future, the next chapter of their journey. And as the sun set, casting a golden light over the world, they had changed. Anna knew this was only the beginning. There would always be more dogs to save, more lives to touch, and more hearts to heal. But through it all, she would have Charlie, the dog who had saved her when she didn't know she needed saving. And so, their story continued, not with an end, but with a beginning that would stretch out into the horizon, a legacy of love and hope. A reminder that sometimes the greatest victories come from the quietest places, and the smallest lives can change the world. As Anna and Charlie walked off into the fading light, side by side, they carried with them the knowledge that love, when given the chance, could heal even the deepest wounds. Their journey, though only just beginning in some ways, had already created a ripple that would continue to spread, a testament to the power of second chances and the quiet courage it takes to love without limits. In the end, they proved that the greatest gifts in life aren't always the ones we expect. Sometimes, they come in the form of a second chance, a loyal companion, and a bond that changes everything. And with that, Anna and Charlie's story would live on, not just in their hearts, but in every life they touched.